This is Karen, KD4DXX, and I want to welcome everybody to this webinar on DMR programming. I appreciate all your interest, and I hope you learned something today. Realize that what I'm going to teach, it may be fairly simplistic for you, but that's what I'm after, is the absolute beginners. And the rest of you may pick up something that you didn't realize. As Kevin was saying, there are always little things, little nuances about these radios you can learn. So let's get started if everybody's ready. There will be time for questions. I'll stop at times. If you'll raise your hand, you should come to the top of the group and I can see that you're asking. I also have help from Will, AA4WJ. He may respond to your chats if you send a chat. I will not. He will. So with that, DMR radio. It is a lot of fun. I have a favorite talk group coming out of Kansas City that I like listening to. Those guys really like to visit. But it all starts at radioid.net. That's very important. You must register your call sign and get a DMR ID. Without that, none of this works. This is the one thing about the two different styles of DMR radios that is different in the programmers. Everything else I'm going to show you, I'm going to use an Anytone radio just because I want to, but you will see screens that look very much the same as what I show you in any of the programmers. The two groups, Anytone, Alinco, Radiodity's funny because they're in both groups. BTEC and Bridgecom will look like this. Bofang, TYT, Retivus, and like I said, Radiodity's got another one that looks like this. The major difference here is the ones with all the blank space in the screen do not allow you to skip lines in your memory channels. You know how in the analog radios we always told you, hey, skip lines, go up to channel number 20 and put those so you can see what you're doing. These DMR radios do not allow that. Everything else, they do the same as the other, but that's different. And when it comes to the DMR ID, in this group, settings, radio menu settings, and this radio ID is your DMR ID. The name can be your call sign, but the important thing is this radio ID. I'm going to go ahead and close this one, just get it out of the way. In the other group that includes, like I say, the Anytones, which are the most popular, I'd have to say. Down here at the bottom of the screen, we have radio ID lists, and you can put all kinds of radio IDs in here. Really kind of neat because you can set up channels that are for one person and channels that are for another person and channels that are for a third person up to 250 different people and hand them the radio and they use those channels and it's their ID that's being used. So it's really kind of neat if you're sharing radios with people. I think it was done more for a fleet kind of plan, but hey, we can take good advantage of it too, right? After the ID, the next thing we need are talk groups. Talk groups. This has to blow people away more than anything else. But I must admit, helping with an article the other day, the best wording was found for this. This is a virtual place where people gather to talk. I like to think of them as your neighborhood bar. And you're going to pick the neighborhood bar where you have the most friends who talk about things you want to talk about. And if you pick one that nobody goes to, What fun is that? There are lots of them. I found something new on radioid.net today. Down here under generator, I have talk groups. Brandmeister and TGIF are the most popular, the most common. And you want them to be common because you want everybody to be there. I'm going to warn you about worldwide. Worldwide, you can get on and not get back off because you got to have a break in the conversation to be able to get back off of it. So, North America is a much better choice. The Kansas City wide is a much better choice. Enough traffic that you know you're in, but not enough traffic that you can't get away from it. We've got Freestar and Free DMR. We've got DMR Mark, all kinds of them. If I go to actually Brandmeister's site, I can look through these and find things that might look interesting. I was going through them the other day and I found one that was beekeepers and another that was in Japanese, which I don't speak, but I thought would be interesting to listen to. And one that was Navajo coming out of China. Okay. Again, really interesting to listen to. So you find these names and you think this would be great. But in all honesty, I have found my best talk groups purely by accident. People have told me. I have a net in Colorado that I joined because a customer told me about it. I have this Kansas City wide because we've been working with them doing some other testing. They've been very generous with us. So while it's nice to have all, there are 2,900 of them here, and there are 1,700 of them here. How many of those are you really going to use? I helped somebody build a file with over 2,000 talk groups in it. He uses 2 of them. I find that kind of interesting. I mean, it's great that he has found 2 where he has people that he has common interest. Start with a few and build out from there. But if you want to go ahead and put them all in, you notice this CSV right here to be able to download. I have done that. Let me show you what I can do with that, and then I'll show you what to do to put your special ones in. I am on the Talk Groups tab of my file. I'm going to go File and Import, and I need my Downloads directory and Talk Groups from Brandmeister. I brought this down just the other day. Okay, notice how it's all squinched down. It's got all kinds of quotes in it. I'm going to take quotes off of it. Now, it knows that this is a country. It knows that this is a call ID. It knows this is a name. Don't really need anything else that's in there. If it didn't, I could click right here and tell it what I wanted it assigned to. Next, and finish. And they're there, ready for me to use. And I'm going to get rid of this contact because it is a space filler. I can delete that. File, save as. In these DMR files, you want to save every time before you leave a page. There's a big database going on in the background, and you give it a chance to catch its breath and to pull everything in. So that gets that one saved. Now I have all those talk groups. My talk groups are in alphabetical order because we think that that's the best way to have them. Because when you go to memories and you're going to assign them, we thought alphabetical order was the best way to do them. You can go to preferences and other and sort talk groups by name. I guess mine are in numerical order. I don't know what order it brought it in all honesty, but I have a sort option right here. So if they don't look the way you want them, play with the sort option. and get them back around the way you want them. I'm just going to leave them in the order they're in. But we talked about being able to put in special ones that you want. Kansas City wide, 313136. I have had more fun on this. They have nets going on all the time. They have some broadcasts. Just a great time with it. For today, if anybody wants to follow along, we are going to be on 310-8406. If you have your program up and you want to program as I go, and you want to put that one in, you can join us in conversation when we finish here. The name doesn't matter. Just call it something that you can understand. We're going to save this again. These are places where people go to talk. Think of them as physical places. They all just have identifying numbers. Next thing we need to do are memories. What we need on a memory channel. We need to know if we're working a repeater or if we're working our own hotspot. But for either one of those, we need its frequency. DMR is exactly like analog. You've got to be able to hit the repeater. It may be the hotspot, that's the repeater, or the repeater. So it happens that my hotspot frequency is 446.55. 446.55. And it wants to set it up as a minus. The programmer just does that. We've been doing that for 31 years. That frequency is in the band plan that it wants to be a minus. Well, I want it to be a simplex because it's my hotspot, and I want it to be digital. In this program, I have bunches and bunches and bunches of columns. Oh, you have to name it. I would recommend you name it the same as the talk group you're going to assign to it. Because when it shows up on the radio, that's the only way you're going to know what talk group is related to it. And in that, web test, because that's what I called that talk group. But to make it a little easier, this is edit, digital mode. And what I did was I just collapsed the screen down to get all the analog stuff out of the way. Okay, high power, I don't care about a scan list. RX and TX color codes. You need to know this information. It's published in Repeater Book or other places where you find details about the repeater, or it's however you set up your hotspot. RX is back to you and TX is out to the device or the repeater. They will probably match. They don't necessarily have to. You see, we make them match automatically, but you're in complete control. Repeater slot. I have it on good authority that generally, if you don't know, use slot 1. On your hotspot, you may have set it to slot 2. That's fine. It's a characteristic unique to the repeater or to the device. So most repeaters, though, if they don't publish it, slot 1 tends to be longer distance, slot 2 tends to be more local. Talk group. Now, I have this great big long list, and I want web test. Goes with the name. And that's all I need. This channel is ready to connect to and talk on web test. But that's going to get really tedious if I'm setting up a separate channel for each of those hundreds of talk groups I put in there. Let's see what else RT Systems can do for you. How about a DMR calculator? 446.55. And I want it to be simplex. I want to use my talk group name as my channel name. I want my starting channel to be number 5. I want my color code to be 1. I want my repeater slot to be 2. That's how my hotspot is set up. And look at this. I'm going to create a new zone we'll just call it, I like test. And I can come over here to my talk groups, and the gentleman that I helped wanted 50 in a group. So I selected this and I went down. I'm doing space and down, and notice there's a counter up at the top. I won't belabor the point. And I would get to 50 and I would tell it to, there we go. I double check everything and tell it to apply. Done. What's really cool is I knew where I stopped. Well, I can go to the next ones and do the same thing, and the next ones and do the same thing. And what's so neat about that is not only did it put it in my memories, but it put it in my zone. So I don't have to do that work, because on a DMR radio, having a memory channel in a zone is an absolute requirement. Now, if you're working just with one or two of them, or you want a new zone, edit, and pick what you want. I want channel 1, channel 2, and I want my web test. And that's all I want in that zone. I can come up here and go to another zone and make adjustments and changes or add to or whatever I want to do. And when I tell it okay, like I said, I recommend you save it. You're just about ready. Believe it or not, you are just about ready to send this to the radio and be on the air. I'd recommend that you touch up radio menu settings. This is a little slow to open. Again, there's a lot going on in these radios. Power on message, you might want to make it your call sign so you know it's your radio when it comes up. This especially, the default startup. I always change mine so I'm on a channel instead of being in VFO. Now I'm in memory when I come in here. That's always a good thing to set up. Your key functions, you might want to change something on your radio so it's easier to use. Your work mode, sub-channel display. Do you want one channel on your radio or two at any one time? And I want this in channel mode. I want it in memory. And I'm basically ready to go. Close, apply changes, and close. To mention what these others are, group lists. This makes the radio receive on more than one talk group at the time. It's listening for activity, although you're connected to one talk group. Scan list, exactly that. It's for scanning, but you do not scan DMR talk groups. So it doesn't do you any good to scan those channels, but if you have analog in here, you might want to scan through your analog channels. Roaming channels, this is a function of the radio where it will actually move from one DMR tower to another. It takes a little more setup than that, but that's basically what the function does. This collects them together. And we talked about radio ID and GPS roaming. We're using your GPS. Okay. That's set up and ready to go. And while this is ready to go, there's one more piece you'll want to add, and that's your contacts list. So you can see details about the person that's calling. When you have done communications and get data from your radio, it will adjust this contact list limit. Some radios have 200,000, some radios have 500,000. It will adjust depending on what the radio tells it. So I can come here and I can pull all contacts for everywhere, and I search, and this is all the contacts in the world. With the radio connected, I can now send this to the radio. It'll come up with the instructions. Plug it in, hook it up, and it goes to the radio. Now, any editing you might do in this list as it appears on the screen now would be lost when you send the next list to it unless you do that editing again. We do not read this back out of the radio because we cannot imagine editing almost 200,000 records and maintaining it. I realize that you may want to, but we didn't build that into the program. If you think something's missing, you might want to do this once a week. You can do this and never disturb any of the other programming in the radio because this is kept separate in the brain of the radio. So all you're doing is writing this to the radio. And I'm going to cancel this because I have nothing hooked up. But these are what you will see when someone calls and you have their call sign, their name, and maybe where they are, and just a little bit of information that you could start the conversation with. So it's nice to have. And as far as I know, all DMR radios do this. So remember, that's under File, External Data, Contact List, and we want to thank Radio ID for letting us into their data to be able to distribute current data to you when you do that. Repeater lists are the same thing. They're coming from Radio ID. He has repeaters. Repeater book has DMR repeaters. So you have several ways to find repeaters in your area or wherever you're traveling. Now that you've seen that, we can do communications and send data to radio. Plug it in, turn it on, tell it okay. And everything transfers to the radio and you're up and ready to talk. So before I run off and we visit with folks, what questions can I answer for you guys?
Okay. Yeah. Where on the programmer can you find your contact list that you've loaded into the radio?
You do not.
Okay.
Okay. Just uh, if you don't like the list that is in your radio, file external data contact list and send it again.
Okay.
What this fills with is what it puts in the radio.
I know with the manufacturer software, they show you the list.
I know they do, and we don't. Mm-hmm. Yep, just
It's
that
a real
simple.
estate issue, right? Okay.
Part of it. Uh-huh.
And then another question about those two talk group numbers you threw out earlier.
Uh-huh.
So we have to take a swag as to whether it's repeater slot 1 or 2 based on what repeater we're going through. A time slot 1 or 2 based on what repeater we're accessing through.
That, or you have to research the repeater you're going through and see if they publish it.
Okay.
As far as the time slot, that all has to do with the repeater that you're on.
Okay.
Does
Okay.
this work with a micro SD card also?
I don't know any of these radios that program with a micro SD card.
I have an FT3D. Oh, wait. Never mind. I'm thinking Yaesu when I should be thinking DMR. Never
Well,
mind.
we use the micro SD card on the FT3D.
Right, I know. That's why I was thinking you kept saying plug the radio in, and I don't. I just use the micro SD card.
Yep. No,
But
this is physical connection.
yeah, okay.
A short question to you. Is there a way of programming, actually printing out everything you had programmed on the sheet? So in other words, if you want to program and print out everything you program on the radio, is there an option on this? And if so, can you also increase the font so we can see it a little better? I'd appreciate that.
Okay. File. We'll do print preview. And it's going to print 6 pages because it prints the columns that are active at the moment. Any column that is hidden doesn't print. And on the additional pages, it prints the receive frequency and the rest of the columns. So remember, you have a lot of that going on because I can't squinch down 24 columns on one page and expect you to read it. The other thing you might want to do, well, 2 things. You asked about font sizes. This is under preference. And I can go to font. I can put it on any font I want. I'm already on a 12-point font, but I can come on up. There we go.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I get fewer columns on the page.
I have a question then. Sorry.
Yes.
Well, it's Casey through you and I. Hello, everyone. Will there be a way to view this later?
It will be on our YouTube channel, and there will be a link on our webpage.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for this.
Okay. What I said a minute ago about it prints columns that are not hidden, I had used edit and digital mode, which automatically hides all the analog. Now, see, I've got the CTCSS and everything back. I can, just so you see it, I can do the same thing and do analog mode. And this just went blank because I only have digital channels in this file. So don't panic. Notice I'm missing channel numbers because everything was digital. So I'll bring that back. But settings and preferences, here's where you hide columns. So you can selectively hide. You may want a printout that's just your receive and transmit frequencies and your comments that you have in on them. Maybe you put the city name in on the comment when you did a repeater book search. And so now you know which repeaters are in which city, and everything else goes away. And now you're down to 3 sheets of paper instead of 6, this kind of thing. So you can hide pieces of information that are not relative to your printout.
Karen, I got a question for you.
Yes.
This is Harry, KEZZR, and I'm new to this whole DMR thing.
Mhm.
So I've already created a code plug in Anytone. I have the 890 UV, and that code plug's got the frequencies and the talk groups in it. Can I go into that code plug and I guess I would import it to an Excel file, and then import it over to RT systems?
No, what I'd recommend you do is you send it to the radio and then read it from the radio. Let the
Okay.
radio be your transfer medium.
Okay, very good. And I don't have to worry about doing it in a group of 50 or anything?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Now, it's not going to disturb your contact list. The last thing we did, that
Mhm.
will not come into the program because the program doesn't hold that. It'll still be in your radio. We're just going to bring in everything else around it. Okay.
Okay.
And if you want to update it, you can then update it from the RT Systems program.
Okay, very good. But thanks for doing the presentation. It's very, very helpful.
I have one more little trick I have to show you.
Okay.
This is the 878V3. This is for everything since version 3.06 on the radio, where it went to the dual color codes. So you have an older radio and you upgrade it. Well, now all your files are in the original program. That was the first time we had to go from one to a second program. Other than that, we just kept bringing it forward, and you never knew one from the next. You didn't have to match firmware version. But you think, great, I'm going to have to rebuild that whole thing, because when you did the firmware upgrade, you lost everything from your radio. How about file opened? I'm in the V3 files. It matches the program I'm in. I'm going to come up here to Documents, Anytone. I'm going to go to the original. See how this says 878 and it has no V3 after it? This is the original. And I have nothing. It's because it's looking for the V3s. So I'm going to tell it all. Now I have files, but these are all regular files. Let's take this one. There it is. That's the file. It is now a V3 file. Save it up. Send it to your new radio. You will need to touch up the settings. If you had done anything back there, they are not copied in. But I just got the memories. I got the zones. I got the talk groups, group lists, scan lists, roam channels, whatever else in these. I got the radio ID even. So I got the lion's share of it. Like I said, you just will need to touch up the settings a little bit. Something about the setting. in my knowledge base on the RT Systems page, knowledge base. If you will go to my DMR section, I have write-ups on every page and what those options do. And I promise you, you don't need to touch everything that's out there, but that will give you a good idea of what it's doing. Let's see if I can find the DMR section here. CD, DMR radios, basic file, general usage. In here we go. It's these radio features. Each of these is a different screen in those settings, and it's a complete write-up. See, even shows the screen and talks about what each of them is. I think you'll find those useful.
Can you bring back the reference page on your main screen? You just showed us how to get to this section again.
I sure will.
And also, I have an Anytone 878 and a 168, and I program it using the Anytone program. So when I load this program, I'm going to buy this software from you guys, will it override my existing programming in my radio if I just have a new code plug? So I have a code plug right now, which is set up in 878, and I want to use your software. Will it copy that and save it?
Let me do that first. When you do communications and get data from radio, which is the first thing you need to do when you've done an installation, it will copy it out of your radio to the RT Systems program. And you will have everything there that then you can start in the RT Systems program and work in it.
So in other words, right now, just real briefly, I see Alan's hand. I'll be real brief. So in other words, if you have an RT Systems radio, I'm sorry, not radio, but a HT, and you use the Anytone programming. So when I read the radio from the other Anytone programming, will RT Systems again copy that information onto the RT Systems code plug when I read the radio?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. We address the same bits and bytes that they do. And yes, we will read it out exactly like it's written in the radio. It doesn't matter where it came from, as long as the radio's happy with it, we will read it right back out into our program.
And it will show the same kind of screen setup as you're on this desktop, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Alan, you had a question?
When you refer to the radio 878 UV3, it's really an 878 UV2 plus version 3 firmware. Is that what you mean?
No, sir. I mean for you to look in the menu under the settings and the radio information, and you will find a firmware version there. All those letters at the end of it actually don't mean anything, but you'll find a firmware version on the screen of the radio. That's where it's 3.06 was the breaking point.
Okay, so but your actual radio is an 878 UV2 plus, right?
It's an 878. I don't care what it says after it. It's an 878.
Oh, so okay, whatever. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much. I've been using RT for a long time now, and I really appreciate your software. It's pretty good. Thanks.
You're welcome. And I realize those letters and numbers can get confusing, but this is one time it's the main number that's important, but then the version inside the radio. And Andrew had asked about getting to the knowledge base. I'm on my page. I happen to be on my DMR section of my page. Let's go to home. This is what it looks like when you first come into it. And I have a link up here at the top that says knowledge base. And I have another link that says how-to videos. The link to this video will be posted in the how-to videos, but then you can go to the knowledge base anytime, and the knowledge base is searchable and find things out by topic or by radio. And remember, the RT Systems programmers are so similar that if you find the same issue addressed in a different radio, the principle that was written about it will apply to what you're working with. Read it anyway. You're liable to get real good information out of it. Anyone else with questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
KC3. So that I was just gonna get some clarification when the other individual had asked about whenever you connect. Like, say, I also have been using the Anytone CPS. So when I get the software, I have your guys' software for 3 other radios. It's awesome. So whenever I connect and I download from the radio after I get the RT system software, basically I'm just curious as to what he was saying. He was saying that everything then will populate into the radio from when I download from the radio from the RT system software, it will fill in everything correctly. Is that what he was asking?
That's what he was asking, and it will
Okay,
fill
perfect.
it in. It will fill it in correctly. It's a different style of getting the same thing done. Because, I mean, we give you things, as you saw the DMR calculator. I can give you column editing. I can give you copy and paste between other programs. You know, all those kind of things that make the RT system programmers easy to use, but it's the same data that you're handling, just a different format.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? I don't want to short anyone. Okay. Well, we are here Monday through Friday, 9 until 5, Saturday by appointment if you need it to work into your work schedule. We'll be more than happy to help personally. I want to get you guys on the air so you can all have a good time with it. So this is Karen. And remember, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. 73s.